One day, Jesus was in the temple courts teaching his disciples when some very angry men dragged a woman towards Jesus. "This woman has done some really dreadful things," they said. They were accusing her of all sorts of things. They were very angry with her. They wanted to punish her. Jesus looked at these people, and he knew that they were only telling half the story. They weren't telling the whole story. He knew that it wasn't just the woman who had done things wrong. There were other people involved. So he looked at those men and he said to them, "If you want to punish her," and they wanted to punish her by throwing stones at her, he said to them, "If you haven't done anything wrong, then you can throw stones at her." The men became thoughtful, and then they walked away, leaving the woman with Jesus. Jesus turned and looked at the woman, and he said to her, "I know that you have done wrong, and I know that I haven't heard the whole story. So go away now and don't do it again."
Good morning or good afternoon, children, and welcome back. Hope you had a really good half term with lots of great adventures out in the sunshine or out in the rain. To tell you the truth, I've really enjoyed this week. I've managed to mow almost the whole lawn. The truth is, I haven't mowed it all. The theme this term is about truth or truthfulness. And the key verse to today is this, John 8 verse 12. "Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Just a quick thing from my trusty Oxford English Dictionary. When I looked up the word true, it said this, loyal or faithful. Isn't that wonderful? That part of being true is being loyal or faithful. Now, I don't know about you or your daddies and mummies, but I'm not a great DIY person, do it yourself, but I do love using my toolkit. And if I take my ruler out of my toolkit and measure this lectern, it's 400 millimeters wide. I nearly said 400 meters, that would be an enormous lectern. It's 400 millimeters wide. And if I take my tape measure here and measure it, it's exactly the same. 400 millimeters, although this measure tells me that it's 40 centimeters. It's the same measure. And if I'm trying to repair my lawnmower and I've got a really small bolt, the spanner I need is a size 8. If I use a size 13, it just won't work. It's not the true size. And the theme today is telling the whole story. You know, when people get in difficult situations and then try to get out of them, maybe with the police or maybe with a teacher or someone else, it's always good to tell the whole truth, because then the situation can be put right. The background to today's verse is this. Jesus is confronted with a woman that everybody else says has done wrong. And they're all men and they're pointing at her and saying, she's done wrong. And Jesus turns to all the men and says, I tell you what, he who has never sinned cast the first stone, because they wanted to stone this woman. And they left, the oldest first and the youngest. And then he was just left with the woman, and he was able to have a brilliant conversation and set her on a completely different route in her life that she'd never had before. Wasn't that brilliant? Because that woman told to Jesus, as it were, the story, the whole truth of her life. And when we go into a court in the UK, in the United Kingdom, we have to hold on to a Bible or Quran, whatever book is special to you, and then you have to promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that's the same in our conversations, isn't it? when we tell the whole truth, life is just so much easier, and then you can have brilliant fun and do fantastic adventures, and it's just by telling the whole truth. And by the way, Jesus always helps us in telling the truth. So I just want you to use a prayer now with you, and you might like to use your hands to say this prayer with me. Dear Jesus, please be with me. I like to know that you care. When everything is hard for me, it's good to know you're there. I'm glad you're close beside me, Lord, a friend to hold my hand. I'm glad you know just how I feel. You always understand. And I've used this prayer before you. It's a prayer for the week. And when we give our whole week or day to God, we can ask him to be with us and to give us a truthful nature in everything that we do and say. Again, it's a prayer that's got actions with it. This week, I pray that God's hands will lead you, God's eyes will watch over you, God's ears will hear your prayers, God's arms will protect you, God's word will encourage you, and if you make the shape of a heart with your hands like that, something like a heart anyway, and that God's love will be with you and his truth every day. Amen. We're going to have a song after the assembly. See you next week. Bye.